Hi, thanks for joining me. My name is Jeremy Regier of Cougar Ridge Computer Systems, a Laserfiche reseller in Alberta, Canada. Today, we're going to look at the third and final part of the accounts payable processing demo that we have been showing you to showcase the advanced capabilities of Laserfiche workflow, forms, and Quickfields batch processing. What I'd like to do is spend a few minutes just showing you behind the scenes, so anyone who is more visually oriented or a technical user that wants to see what's going on behind the scenes with the tools and get a sense for how easy it is to use these tools to accomplish what we have in the demo. I'm going to start in Laserfiche Forms. Laserfiche Forms is entirely web-based, and I'm going to simply start by opening up the purchase order form that we used in part 1 of the demo. Laserfiche allows you to build the forms by dragging and dropping information and fields onto the page. So the original form starts very simply with a name, date, and so on, if you recall from the first demo. I can take and drag and drop and insert additional different field types in here at will. I can edit the field types and the variables associated with those fields simply by clicking and making my adjustments. When I want different steps in the form, I can create separate forms. So the next step of the form was the purchase order form. These fields became read-only, and we added additional fields for the purchaser to select where they wanted this data to come from. And finally, the receiver saw a different view again and was able to input a number of quantity received. All of this field information then is controlled in a process modeler that gives us another drag and drop interface to visually map out the process and set whose approval is needed at what point and the decisions that are made along the way. This gives you a very rapid development environment to visually lay out your processes and easily create the steps required. Moving along from there, I'd like to switch into the Workflow Designer. And this is workflow's primary method of editing and controlling workflow. Now, by definition, workflow is like this all-seeing eye that monitors your repository and everything that happens in it and everything that exists in it. And it can perform every function that a user can perform, but you can automatically or predefine criteria that can trigger these workflows or automatic processes to happen. I say all this to give you a sense that workflow as we see it is not something that's predefined. Workflow is something that needs to be completely customizable to your particular business processes or needs. That makes this tool radically open-ended and flexible for accomplishing any type of automation that we need. Workflow, when they are triggered, they start at the top and they work their way down through each activity until they either are ended or come to the end of the process. So graphically, we can see exactly which steps and which functions. So during the invoice approval process, workflow would run and rename those entries. It would find the appropriate PO. It would create the document links, and it would calculate the due dates. It would move the invoices into the correct record series and so on. Then it would perform lookup functions to compare the totals and determine whether the totals matched and what to do if they were the correct or that they were missing totals. And different functions can apply differently depending on the information in here. Then a business process happened and it waited for an approval. And then it waited for a accounts payable decision, and whether it was approved or declined, it moved it into varying folders. So quite a complex set of a combination of tools, but represented graphically and very easy to design. The challenge is not the designing of it. It's simply the challenge is to know exactly what you want to do. And so workflows can often be very, very simple if your functions that you're doing are very simple and straightforward. And conversely, larger business processes have a lot of different functions going on. But again, we're not expecting you to be a programmer. Your regular users should expect to be able to use workflow if they're involved in designing the automation tools. At no point are you expected to have to write code. Although when you get into super advanced workflow, I'll just show you, these are all the activities available to us. We can do some very advanced things, such as we have direct database tie-ins. So we can insert data, query data, and update data from any ODBC database. So if you can imagine at any point in your automation you want to reach into a third-party database or push data into a third-party database, we can integrate at the database level easily and graphically. We also have a very powerful set of HTTP integrations for interacting with web APIs. So if you have any third-party applications you wish to interact with on an API level, we also have that with HTTP form, post, and get commands that can happen right from within workflow. Finally, we can reach into directly into Microsoft Exchange, and we can have things like calendar items or to-dos automatically added to people's Exchange or Outlook calendars. So you can directly integrate with Microsoft Exchange at that level. We also directly tie into Microsoft SharePoint. So in a combination of all these, and including at the top level of complexity, we have an activity that allows you to directly write .NET scripting to customize at whatever level you wish and design whatever level of activity that you want custom. Most users do not need to go to that level, but I pointed out so you get an idea of just how powerful workflow can be. Finally, I'd like to talk about Quickfields. Quickfields is our batch image processing tool that we use to batch process multiple types of invoices that came in and also the checks that were associated with them. This is typically used when you're processing large amounts of information. And Quickfields has a huge variety of plugins available to it, because in batches and in batch processing, some of the most complex parts of it is identifying in a batch where one document ends and the next one begins. So we have powerful tools that can look at specific areas on the page and determine if certain content exists there, performing lookups and in any combination. And it simply works through a set of nodes to identify the first page using a set of activities that we can specify, and that can be a variety of activities. And some of the plugins get so complex as to even allow you to just simply give it a sample form and say, if the first page looks something like that form, then call that the first page of the next document. All the way down to simple things that we're doing here, like looking for a purchase order number on page 1. Then we do page processing. We have very advanced page cleanup tools and abilities to find barcodes, to put annotations on the page, to even apply redactions automatically, to automatically redact out sensitive information when it finds those activities or finds that information on a page. An example of this is to automatically redact social insurance numbers. Only certain people can find or see them if they exist in your data. And then finally, we can push the data out in many different ways. So I've pointed out previously that Quickfields can source its information from attached scanners, from image files that already exist in your systems, or it can even source the files from Laserfiche itself. And this makes Quickfields a very powerful reprocessing tool to take information that's already in Laserfiche and maybe reorganize it or apply or attach more metadata to it. That's a very brief overview of those 3 advanced tools to give you a visual representation of what they might do. Each of them by themselves is very, very powerful, and it's really the way that we put them together and utilize the tools in a real-world business process that gives us the ability to match nearly any business process or need that you have. And it gives us the confidence when we say that the tools are easy to use but are very powerful. So we've proven over the years, and there's many, many real-world scenarios where the use of these tools can dramatically impact your efficiency and your bottom line and accomplish things that previously were all done manually. Thank you for watching, and please feel free to reach out to me with any further questions.